Hello, beautiful people, whoever is watching. Here I am again. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Kundalini Awakening, and it is related to my previous video 5D Ascension Bubbles and Powers and Effects, and the information that comes out from the New Age, spiritual New Age community, okay? I decided to talk about this because I think it's quite important to address some stuff that I think, from my perspective, is important, okay? And remember, this is always my perspective. So you can agree and disagree, and the same way you are free to do whatever you want with yourself, with your body, with your soul, with your consciousness or your soul consciousness, which are both the same, okay? So I'd like to start with saying that in my perspective, okay, we are all Kundalini awakened when we are born, the same way we are already spiritually awakened. They are both one and the same thing, okay? The reason why we have to go through Kundalini awakening later on in our lives, many of us, it's because we develop blockages, okay, in our energetic field. And that includes our physical body, and our physical body is made of energy as well. And therefore, at some point in time, those blockages will have to, poof, blow up, open up to fully or to receive the energy or to fully integrate our soul consciousness, our spiritual self, okay? Um, The reason why we develop blockages, one or many factors, okay, is the way we are raised by our parents. Second, because of the way our society is structured, okay, there are tons of the educational system, for example, um, the communities we live in or the culture we are in, there are many factors, okay, that are going to create those blockages in us and are not going to allow us to flourish and to develop our inner gifts naturally. So, in my opinion, from my perspective, that should be the natural condition of the human beings. Just being born Kundalini spiritually awakened, and from there just develop the journey because there's tons of people out there as well. I see them on the internet every day that are adult beings that are Kundalini's, sometimes younger than not yet on the adult stages. They are already Kundalini awakened, and probably they never heard about that word. And they are not even connected at all to spirituality stuff or whatever it is, Or they might be, I don't know their private life, but I'm talking from what I see, from what I observe. And the reason is probably this type of people, I'm sorry, probably these type of people were born with conscious parents that allow them, not probably, for sure, they were born with parents, with conscious parents that have allowed them, I'm so sorry for my voice today, that have allowed them to to flourish naturally and develop their inner gifts naturally. Therefore, they are just naturally Kundalini awakened. They didn't have to go through any boom, They didn't develop the type of blockages that we, the ones that go through the Kundalini awakening, have to go through. And so, this is one part of my perspective, okay? The second part of my perspective is that the Kundalini awakening should happen naturally. And I'm going to explain it in a while. So I had my Kundalini awakening back in 2013. It happened naturally, okay? It was quite hardcore. And looking back, I know why. because I had tons of blockages, okay. But there's also something called, what I called at least, pre-awakening stages of the Kundalini awakening, okay? You cannot go through a Kundalini awakening like just out of nowhere, because that's extremely dangerous. You will be Kundalini awakening when your soul consciousness, I'm sorry, but today there's something that's stuck in here or needs to, you know, sometimes the energy needs to move, to flow in other ways. Anyway, so now I got lost. Let me see where I was. Yeah, I had my Kundalini back in 2013, and it was quite hardcore, I said, tons of blockages. Yeah, the pre-awakening stage is okay. If you go through a Kundalini awakening just like that, it can be very dangerous. That's why, in my opinion, no one should ever force a Kundalini awakening. And then this takes me to the New Age community, because at some point in my journey, there started to came out a trend, a boom of spiritual teachers, spiritual gurus, so-called spiritual gurus, okay, putting out programs for people. And nowadays it has grown like even more, um, with programs for people to awaken their Kundalini. And most of these people are very conscious and aware that this is quite dangerous, because they know there's tons of people that go out of these programs and end up in the hospital, developing mental issues, developing mental illnesses. Okay, mostly that's the most prevalent thing. And if the thing goes wrong, you have a nervous system burnout right away. So you will go right away into the hospital. So I would say that most of these people, not all, that are good people out there, okay, but they are very few. They do this for business, okay. So this is my perspective, my opinion. As I said, you are free to do whatever you like with yourself and your body, and think otherwise, okay? So there's also the retreats. Also that it started a boom at some point, ayahuasca retreats. So everyone wants, and nowadays still it continues in South America, Mexico, other countries, okay? And unfortunately, this became a trend, a new age trend as well. And it's quite dangerous as well, because uh, first of all, the ayahuasca ceremony is very sacred, and I have a lot of respect for that, and should be kept like that as a tradition. And if you ever think about doing it, make sure that you uh, go go to a place, or that you are really conscious about yourself, that you know your body so well, that you know your uh, mind so well already, your emotional state, your psychological state, in the sense that you feel really ready to go and participate in such a retreat, okay? And look for a good person, or if you know somebody that can tell you, look, these people know how to work well on this type of trips, if you want to go do it, okay? Because if you go to do an ayahuasca retreat, or you know, you're going to ingest a very, very powerful hallucinogenic plant, okay, in the first place. So I'm also mentioning this because if you're not Kundalini awakened, most probably an ayahuasca trip is going to trigger your Kundalini awakening, okay? And once again, all these programs and retreats, If you are not ready, if your body is not ready, if your entire bodily system is not ready, and this includes your nervous system, which is the most important thing, if it's not ready to receive all that frequency that needs to receive when there is an opening of all those blockages, you are going to have a very bad trip. You are going to end up in the hospital and you are going to develop tons of mental issues. I've seen throughout all these years, and that's why I'm doing this video, and comes from experience, not from taking the ayahuasca. I never took it. I never felt I had to take it. This, what I'm talking about ayahuasca, is based on my information, but from my experience, I've seen tons and tons of people, unfortunately, throughout the internet, that people that I was following, for example, or people that I was even connected to on social media, following that trend, okay? Oh, I also want to awaken my Kundalini. I'm going to do an ayahuasca retreat, or I'm going to do this program. I also want to meet my twin flames, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. That's another very, very, thing that comes from the New Age community, that is like, forget about it, okay? Don't let yourself be taken by the trend, because I understand you. You do it innocently. It's okay. You don't have enough information, but be very careful, because, as I was saying, if your body is not ready, things can go wrong. Okay, and the way the reason I say that it should happen naturally, it's because it comes a time, okay, when you work in yourself, when you have a daily or spiritual daily routine that is, good enough, you take care of yourself, good enough, inevitably, okay, inevitably, you will have to go through Kundalini Awakening at some point, okay? So you should not worry about that, okay? You should never force something that should happen naturally, okay? Because when you are ready, your soul consciousness, or consciousness, yeah, your soul consciousness, okay, I'll put it like that, or God or self, call it whatever, will trigger that process for you, okay? And so that's why it should never be forced. Because when you're ready, your soul consciousness know that, your God source consciousness know that, and it's going to trigger it. And then the process starts. And please don't think, because many people, it's like, oh, I'm going to awaken my Kundalini, because you think it's going to be all bubbles and flowers. And no, my friends, you are going to start a journey that is quite hardcore. Then it depends, of course, on the blockages that you have. The more blockages you have, the more hardcore your trip is going to be. And I mean trip because it's really a trip. It's like, taking the red pill. But you're not going to take one red pill. I'm sorry. You are going to take more than one. In my case, I felt like I took 1,000 red pills, okay? But for some people, probably it went down to 100, or goes down to 100, or to 20, or even less, okay? Or in other cases, it can even be more hardcore than my awakening was. And because of that, for example, I had to become a nomad. Because to receive all this income of frequency, remember, these blockages are going to open up. You're going to finally embody your soul consciousness, okay? And this means that you are embodying tons of frequency from God source energy, okay? And because of that, I had to live like a nomad for 6 years, for example. I had to move throughout the Western Europe countries a lot, because I could not stay in the same place. I had to move through the earth grids to integrate the frequency. And on the other hand, there are people with less blockages that go through the Kundalini Awakening. They are aware of it, and they don't have those type of blockages. They have lesser blockages, and they keep living in the same house, in the same city. Of course, there's tons of things that are going to shift in their lives because it's impossible when you have a Kundalini Awakening. Be ready because a lot of stuff is going to radically change, because you are going to start to do that embodiment. Therefore, your awareness is going to change tons of degrees. I'm not going to say 360 degrees because it's going to be much more than that. Okay. So yeah, you should be very aware, very conscious, and very careful if you really want to take that step. Okay, in other words, if you want to force it or let it happen naturally. Okay, this is my opinion, this is my perspective. Of course, as I said, you are free to do whatever you like with your body. I just want to put this information out there. There are other people putting this information out there, people that went through bad trips. And I have the example of a very good friend, and this was many years ago, okay? So that you have an example. He did an ayahuasca trip. Unfortunately, it went wrong. It triggered a Kundalini awakening at the same time, and he ended up in the psychiatric hall. Okay, unfortunately, until this day, he lives with schizophrenia because of that. The ayahuasca retreats, my friends, as I was saying before, it's a very powerful plant, and I put this beautiful plant on my background because I'm also talking about that. You are going to, it's a very, very powerful plant that is going to take you on an inner journey. Of course, you have the information, but make sure your brain is ready, make sure you are really ready, because you are going to have contact with other time-space realities. You are going to see things in front of your face that you have never seen. You are going to deal with your own traumas, generational traumas, sometimes even past traumas may arise. You are going to deal with sea beings, entities, and unfortunately, there's tons of non-benevolent entities in the astral level, okay, which corresponds to the fourth dimensional level of this structural existence. There's ton of non-benevolent beings in that space-time reality, okay, astral level. That are going, if you're not really aware, conscious and aware, they are going to stick into your energetic field, and probably they are going to help to trigger a bad trip. And if you freak out, it's the end of it. If you are going to freak out, you are going to have a bad trip, and you're just going to end up in the hospital and developing later on all kind of mental issues or even mental illnesses. Okay, so be very careful with that. Okay, because it's your life, it's your health, it's your mental health, and your mental health is your entire life. It's the rest of your life. Okay, that's really, really important to be aware of. Okay, still, it's your choice. But remember, one choice can change your life forever. So I don't want to put any distress. I'm just putting out my perspective. Um, and yeah, that's basically it. I think that's a good wrap in it. I did do a video before about it, but I did not I did not structure it so well, because the ideas were not so very well developed yet in my mind, because the ideas just came through, so I deleted it. And I guess now I did a good wrap in it, so you know that so that you understand my perspective. And I just want to repeat, please don't follow the trend, okay? If you are really conscious and if you really love yourself, be very careful with those type of programs out there, with those type of retreats. And yeah, I guess that's all. I think I'm not forgetting anything. I'm sorry. I don't write stuff before I do videos. I just let things flow naturally, although I'm repeating uh, ideas that I had already days before. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Who am I to tell you what to do? I'm just giving you or putting you out information that maybe if you watch this video, because I don't think many people will, because this is not promoted content. But if you are watching this, I hope it can be helpful in any way if it resonates with you. And yeah, once again, I will repeat it. One choice, really, one choice can change our life forever. Okay, that's really important to keep in mind. And yeah, if you do research as well, if you research stuff out there, you'll see that. That's what I wanted to say. I knew there was something missing here. Okay, I'm sorry, but sometimes I have to talk and to see, and then the thing comes through. What I have seen throughout these years, as well, people, as I was saying, that I was following, and people that I was connected to in social media decided to follow this trend. They had a beautiful, beautiful energy before they went into those programs or before they went into those retreats. And unfortunately, most of them, most, not all, but most of them, I'd say 90% of them, come out of those programs and of those retreats in a very bad mental state. Um, Um, state. Does this make sense? I don't know. Uh, and I see their energetic field, for example, with a really bad energy, with a really what I called polluted or full of garbage, astral garbage energy, okay, in their energetic fields, entities attached to their energetic fields as they go out of there. So it becomes a little bit hard to stay connected to those people because first, if you are sensitive and empathic enough, intuitive enough to see that, it's like holy effing shit, it's like, okay, this went wrong, and unfortunately it's hard for you to stay connected to those people. And this taught me a great, great lesson. That's what I want to talk about as well, throughout the years. And that's when I started to see all this type of BS coming out of the spiritual new age community, and I was like, okay, bye bye, new age community. I don't want to have anything to do with you, and especially about these programs, these retreats, and there, and when I had my awakening, for example, I didn't even know what a Kundalini awakening was, although I was practicing yoga. I had a very, very disciplined spiritual routine, but I just believed in angels, and that's, I didn't even know the word multidimensional. I had no idea what that was. And yeah, on the spiritual, on this community, they mix all kind of stuff, angels, archangels, but there's tons of beings out there. There's tons of life out there. We live in an infinite cosmic, reality. So it's like, what I want to tell you, don't follow the trend and don't let yourself be influenced by ideas that are not yours. If you are on the pre stages of awakening, you are already very intuitive and empathic enough to sit with yourself and know if that's the right thing for you. Okay. So I think I'm not going to put it much further because it's already 25 minutes of video. And for me, it's enough. I don't like to do these long videos. So, yeah, I think that's all. I hope this helps. And wherever you are on this planet, I wish you much peace, okay? Much love. If you are going through bad times, I just wish you all the best. I hope you can make it. You will make it. You will always make it, okay? And yeah, lots of love, lots of peace for you and your family. Lots of health, okay? That's the most important thing. Take care and bye bye. We see you next time or not. I don't know. It depends what comes out. Okay, take care. Lots of love. Bye bye.